Today is the 12th of August 2022. I thought I'd take some time out just to make a quick video on some thoughts rummaging through my head. I want to address something really quickly, and I want people to think. I want to discuss something called conspiracy theory. You hear this term thrown out a lot, particularly by our media. And if you didn't know the history of this word, or this phrase, it was invented by the CIA to cover their asses for stuff that they don't want anybody to know about. So if you pay attention to how what the media says with anything that's controversial, they will throw out the term conspiracy theorist. A perfect example of this is Alex Jones. You know what? I remember Alex Jones from back in the day before there was smartphones, probably the best way to put it, before there were smartphones. And he'd be rambling on about stuff. But if you really look at some of the stuff that he actually claimed way back then, all that stuff has come to fruition. The CIA made this term up to discredit anybody that goes against the narrative. So what they do is they call, like if you want to talk about, let's say you want to talk about somebody that says that, let's take something very simple. Excuse me. People that believe that the government is covering up anything that has to do with UFOs, or they call them now unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. That's what they call it now. So what do they label, when the media talks about this, they label as conspiracy theorists think there is a government cover-up. If you are a critical thinking person, you would realize that there is things going on that the government doesn't tell you about. They keep us in the dark about a lot of things for a lot of reasons. We can sit here and debate this till we're blue in the face, right? For me personally, considering I've had experience with what is not known, that should be known. And all my closest friends know what I'm talking about. First-hand experience, up close, personal experience seeing things that aren't supposed to exist. And there is no way that the government doesn't know about it. So right away, you ask yourself, why are we being lied to? Why is it considered a conspiracy theory? Why is it fantasy land? Why did it discredit anybody that mentions these topics? It's very, very simple. There's probably multi-facets of this, but part of it is about covering their own asses. The whole idea of conspiracy theory is it covers the government ass, covers their government asses up and protects them in a shroud of, look, the best way to discredit somebody is make them look like they're crazy. Public ridicule is probably the strongest motivator of human beings to remain silent on things for a reason, because most people don't like to be laughed at. Most people don't want to be made fun of, and what happens is it goes to our childhood. So if you're an adult and you want to be taken seriously, you don't want to be ridiculed like you were a child, because every single one of us were teased somewhere around when we were children, and we don't like that. And even if you could be an old man like me, and then somebody tries to bring up these feelings of ridicule, it goes right back to our childhood. We carry scars from our childhood. You know, I'm just realizing at this moment in my life, at nearly 58 years old, how I have an uncle who's in his 80s makes me revert to feeling like a child, because he was so I don't even know if I want to. I won't say the word cruel, but unpredictable. And it makes me revert to that, and it's a very strange feeling when you realize it makes you feel like a child again. The fear of ridicule is very powerful, and to keep people in line, it's a real soft way to keep. So if the government knows something and it doesn't want you to know about it, they are going to deliberately put out misinformation about it, and there's a way to discredit people. And there are people. I don't think for 5 minutes there isn't a government agency that doesn't deal with all this stuff. I mean, under the Obama presidency, he made it legal again for the federal government to use propaganda against the American people. If you don't believe me, look it up. That happened under Obama. After World War II, it was illegal for our government to do such a thing. And if you sit back with a clear mind, and there's a lot of people that don't have a clear mind. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, just go online and read the comments section on any YouTube video or go on a Facebook or any social media thing, and you damn well can see that there are people that don't have a freaking clear mind. It's mind-numbing to me that how people can process stuff, or they believe bullshit. They don't even think about it. They don't even question what they're being told. They don't even try to dig into the facts of something. It never occurred to them that it could be misinformation or being lied to. What I've learned over the years is very simple. When the mainstream media tells you something to believe, they're usually trying to they're trying to distract you from the obvious. So what they're talking about is not, they're telling you what they want you to think, because they don't want you to think the other way. So they're talking in opposites. If they're telling you something is good, it's probably bad. If they're telling you something is horrible, it's probably good. If you approach anything that the regular media pushes at you, if you approach it like that, then you're going to be on a road to self-discovery, a road to truth. But when they start calling people, as soon as you hear that term, conspiracy theorist, you need to start questioning what they're trying to distract you from, or the direction they're trying to push you in. It's an automatic term to discredit anybody that speaks against a narrative. Anybody watching this, do you believe our government is forthcoming with anything? Do you believe they do nefarious things? You really don't have to look hard to see the things that they have done over the past 200 years. And just the things we found out about. Illegal experiments on groups of people, telling them one thing when they were doing another. And I can't remember the one where they were using black men and the syphilis. They were deliberately infecting them with syphilis, using them as guinea pigs. Don't think for 5 minutes that there isn't something going on. You don't think that there's some type of governmental child trafficking ring going on? Jeffrey Epstein. Does that not reek of some type of cover-up and conspiracy? We had a little tiny trial in regards to that, and they put that woman in a low security prison in Florida. We still don't know who was, having sex with underage people. But Kevin Spacey was one of them, and that should tell you a lot what was going on. So as far as, I guess what I'm trying to do is, if there's 13 people who see this, I'm probably not telling you anything new. The world is a stranger place than you have been led to believe. And governments on the earth right now are more powerful than they have ever been in human history. We're all interconnected. The Georgia Guidestones that just got, whatever the hell happened to those, nobody's still even talking about it. Come on, go and read the tenets that thing had. One of the things was guide human reproduction with fitness in mind. That's eugenics. That's selective breeding of human beings. Maintain the human population at 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Listen to the language. Maintain the human population at 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. What does that mean? That if the population gets over 500 million, you have to depopulate. You don't think there's an agenda? And in case you didn't know this, if you do the research, 500 million people on the planet Earth was about the world population at the time Christ was born. Is it stuff of sci-fi? Absolutely. You know what? You need to look at certain things. Look at George Orwell's 1984. They use it as a playbook. Read the book Animal Farm, which was the first one I ever read by him. With some animals, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. It's the very last part of the book. Alex Huxley, Brave New World. Oh my goodness, read that one. And if that hasn't come to reality, I don't know what to tell you. My message is just very simple. And I will always say this. Don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe half of what you see. Look in the opposite direction that they tell you to look at. Look in the opposite direction. I wish my fellow citizens in this nation would wake the hell up, because too many of them got their head up their ass. They're too busy focused on baseball games and football games. And look, we're all struggling to make a living. We're all struggling to survive. We're all struggling to bring our families into better places. And I get that. And I guess I probably should throw this in. If you don't have a relationship with the living God through Jesus Christ, and it's just a play on words to you, you don't expect to have a renewing of your mind. If you want to understand some of these things, you need to have a spiritual source that's going to reveal things through the Holy Spirit. If you don't have that, I don't know what to tell you. God has given you a brain, and He's given you an ability to understand, but you can be clouded. Your judgment can be just freaking clouded without having a spiritual background with it. You start to see things for the way they are. There's something that will sit in your spirit and say, this isn't right, this isn't right. It'll be nagging at you. I mean, that's my bias. That's where I come from. I will always come from a Christian perspective on things. And let me tell you something. My Christian perspective of things doesn't generally go with the mainstream Christianity, which I think has become a joke. To me, modern Christianity, particularly in the United States, has had its head up its ass a very, very long time. And they have ignored the stuff that's been screaming in its face for so long. If they aren't a fallen church, I don't know what to tell you. The whole thing of the denominations have embraced. There's a whole bunch of denominations that have embraced wickedness, and if you can't see it, I don't know what to tell you. Pay attention. Be a critical thinker. Don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything you see. There has never been a time in human history where you have the access to the world at your fingertips, where you can search alternative thoughts and thinking and viewpoints. And even though they suppress them, because they do suppress them, and they do change definitions of things. The Biden administration just changed the definition of recession. They also just recently changed the definition of bigot. If you have an old dictionary in your home, printed dictionary, go look up the definition of a bigot and then go on Google and see what it says. If you don't think that there's a manipulation going on, and the younger generation doesn't know how to go to a hard copy of anything. They believe anything that comes across a screen. It's pathetic. If you have children, please teach your children how to think critically. Don't let them believe everything they have. And I'm speaking to men. You have such strength and power as a father. You have a strength and power that you have no idea. how powerful it is until you get older. Every man that's out there and realizes, I want you to look at the impact your father had. A good father, not a bad father. Be a good father. Make up for the mistakes that your father made, and don't be like him. But be the powerful man that you are, and have the influence over your children that you should have, that you were born. It's your birthright. It's a God-given birthright. Mothers nurture and pour into their children through love and kindness and tenderness and compassion. But you, as a father, you give them strength, you give them power, you give them sound mind, you give them rationality and logic over the emotion. Pour into your kids that. Give them that strength. Teach them about strength and respect and honor and duty and responsibility. I heard somebody say this: we all have rights, but you also have responsibilities. And sometimes your responsibility outweighs your rights. So if you're going to father children, if you have children, I don't care if you fathered them out of wedlock or whatever, take your responsibility of those children over your rights, because that is where the payoff is in the end. I know I kind of rambled a little bit, but it all has to do with this. It all has to do with the whole conspiracy thing. Don't believe when they try to label. Remember what they do. It's a term coined by the CIA to discredit anybody that goes against the narrative and what they want you to believe. So keep that in mind. Until next time.